So, we are the sisters. The sisters are we.
Sisters 1,
2, and 3. Not witches. Just a bit weird, you see.
we like necromancy and messing with men who think they're unmanly.
We just did one sucks, one of our best.
Tell them the story.
Who? Macbeth. Oh, him, yes, we were bloody tough with that.
I mean, I thought it was such a thundercat.
He was this he was this general, kicked arse in battle, because the king was decrepit and couldn't fight his own.
We met him when he was going back home. He was with his buddy, the fit one.
Banquo.
Oh, yeah.
He was all smitten with his victory, so we decided to shit him up with a little bit of twickling. It was pretty easy, didn't even need the cauldron.
We told him he'd be Thane of Cawdor, which we knew would then befall him because we'd done some research.
Cawdor was the rebel whose name had been besmirched.
He was under arrest. It was obvious his title would go to Macbeth.
Now here's the really clever bit. Once he'd been titled Cawdor, he'd believe anything, and he'd also want more. So when we said he'd then be king, he'd had visions galore of wearing the crown. And ambition is powerful. Oh yes it is. Especially to a wife who hasn't got kids. Poor dear.
But here's the twist. Predictably, the fit one, Banquo, wanted his fortune told too.
So we cryptically said kings would issue from his loins.
Ooh.
Just to drive a wedge of suspicion between Beth and his ally.
So Beth tells his wife everything.
Are you telling this or am I? So Lady Beth says to Beth, you know King Dunk is staying with us tonight.
So be a man and kill him, bitch. She was the pushy type. Beth faffs around. He gives her back some banter, but she's starting to get scary now.
Reminds us all of Thatcher. But while Dunk's sleeping in his room, Beth thinks he sees a floating blade, which motivates him better.
Actually, it's just Sissy with her overhead projector.
So in he goes to do a murder. Lady Beth has drugged his servants
And smeared them with some blood.
Then comes the further. Duff comes in. Discovers Dunk is covered in some blood.
Yes, someone's done him in.
We watch the chaos, really pleased with it. Dunk's unscarpa, how convenient. Beth is king, we're bloody genius. We then sit back to watch unfold the rest of what we have foretold. Or so they think, these trusting souls.
They really are so gullible.
See, the genius bit that we put in was Banquo's issue being kings and not Macbeth's.
This, coupled with the fact that Banquo very much suspects that Beth has forced his kingship,
means now their friendship's awkward, innit? Now, Beth has already done a killing. Already attained his aims by sinning, and about our prediction he can't stop thinking. Banquo sons to take my kingship.
What a digit.
This time he's hardened. Doesn't need his missus now to call him chicken-hearted. He's embraced the filthy darkness. And Banquo with his son around have made him an insomniac.
He was his friend, his buddy.
Now he's subject to a contract. Now, this is where we stepped in to tinker with this tragedy, mainly so as we could prolong Macbeth's bitter agony.
See, while the hired assassins were beating Banky's face in, we subtly took the son,
Flayant,
out of the equation, so he could remain at large, at least in Betty's mind.
Hey, that's dark. So, nicely timed to let this simmer. Beth gets news of this at dinner. It's a sort of king publicity stunt. He dishes up rub and gives it some front.
Things seem to be going pretty swimmingly.
Until he gets news that Flayant is in history. Then he has a lovely fit.
It was lovely.
Suddenly Beth starts to get significantly uppity.
He starts to rant and gabble that he's staring at a ghost.
Could it be Banquo? Well, no, it's just Sissy. She's wearing his clothes.
But he thinks it is, and he's absolutely terrified. He's screaming,
"What are you doing back? It's like you never died!" Sissy's very good at this, so no one else espies what Bethy's ranting about.
Vegas think he's high.
But then he's off again, this time raving like a lunatic. He's fallen off his chair.
He's had more than he can chew, I think.
Lady Beth is furious. "Stop acting like a stupid prick!"
The guests are busy murmuring,
"Oh look, it seems our king's a tit." They saunter off ahead of time. The Beths feel very foolish. They tidy up all by themselves. Poor dears, the party's ruined.
Now, as was our expectation, next morning, Beth pops round to ours for a little visitation.
He wants to know the future,
Bless, such human-like impatience. So now it's time for section 2 of Mission Hero Liquidation. Now, we had noticed Duff the Mac had buggered off behind Beth's back, so we decided to engineer some scorpions.
This is my idea. So, we do a dance of tantric rhythm, then raise up 3 apparitions
To heighten the dramatic tension.
Beware Macbeth, the
First one says, "Thanks for the warning," said Macbeth. The second one, now
listen carefully, proclaims that none of woman born shall render him a fairy.
If not woman born, then who the hell can harm me? Bring it on, Macduff, bring on your rebel army.
Number 3 is bubbling and brewing in the cauldron and is similarly brimming with some pseudo-reassurance. Don't worry, Beth, you shan't be killed until the forest moves up the hill. We're starting to giggle because we can tell this poor Billy is starting to get cocky with a false sense of security.
Well, I'm safe then, surely. Forrest can't walk, don't be silly.
Then we show the dearie what we know will get his grunt on. It again requires some items from the dressing up box.
It's some kids in royal gowns and crowns. But check out this illness.
Up pops their dad, and it's none other than the blood-covered Banquo, still fit. Beth gets in a real tiz. We disappear into the night wind. We've set the stage for catastrophe, disaster.
Exciting.
So, heavily under the influence of our messages subliminal, Bethy now embarks upon more killings, so predictable. This time, exactly as intended, it's Mrs. Duff and family that headline Bethy's death list.
We knew that he'd act rashly out of sudden paranoia, and this in turn makes Duffy's burn to Brookham even surer.
Meanwhile, Lady Beth is not doing well.
No, she's not, is she? No.
She's not so top full of direst cruelty like she used to be, sis.
No, she's gone a bit haywire. Some say she's a suicide risk.
That's a shame. Well, Bethy's to blame. I mean, he should have been more communicative. Now she's addled with guilt all alone because he wouldn't include her in shit.
What a dick.
I mean, Best, he's given too much, because Duff's teamed up with Son of Dunk, and they've come in through a thick dense wood, and they look like they want to give it large.
This is gonna get good.
Up the hill, Bethy's waiting, realising now that everyone hates him, but still, he's feeling optimistic, because the forest is still in the ground, not doing any dodgy business. News comes through that Lady Beth just plopped off the top of the gruesome twosome's roof, then plummeted to become a puddle of messy brain. Beth goes philosophical. Well, life means nothing anyway.
What a penis.
Then comes some rather clever schemings.
Yeah, so we strolled up to the soldiers to suggest to them some tactics, namely chopping down the branches and using them to hide their numbers as they're all advancing.
You can see how we've planned this. So Bethy gets a lovely visit from some trees.
He goes batshit, but nevertheless, you let the battle rip.
We're all secretly impressed. He's angry with the sword and there's a lot of blood and gore. Bethy thinks, of course, that not one of them can kill him because they're all of woman born. Now brace yourselves. Now it gets clever. This is where you'll see the beauty of our whole endeavour.
See, our preparation for this little game has yielded this.
That Macduff's mum had had some complications. No need for details, sis, but it's important. See, Duff had gone a bit skew-whipped when he was still inside her. This meant he couldn't make his exit via her vagina. So he never had the honour of being squeezed through Mummy's muff.
No, he was ripped out of her womb while she was still quite up the duff.
So if we're being proper, he wasn't born at all. Stop it, stop it. By the time poor Bethy gets this news, it's very much too late. He calls us names for all our games, then Duffy swings his blade. Chop and splat and spurt and fizz. Bethy gets dismembered, his head hurtles to a ditch. We gather round and with a ghastly soul-decrying chorus, we sing an ode to victory while he jolts with rigor mortis.
How satisfying.
Who should we do next then? What about that Gaddafi fella? He's getting